Is this the financial crisis of 2008 all over again? Please help. I'm very worried. That is the comment that I received. So that's the comment I received just recently, because this is what people are saying, is that we are about to experience a crisis far worse than the financial crisis of 2008. But is this true? Well, this is your warning. Here's the problem that we're having today. The financial crisis of 2008 and the housing crisis, all of those, that was a big problem. Well, we kind of knew it was coming. Here's the issue today. It is not just about the U.S. It is about the U.S., it's about China, it's about Russia, it's about Brazil, right? Many countries. That is what is creating a different crisis today. So, I want to touch on this and what we are going to experience. But first, all I ask is if you can spend 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's begin. So here's what we do know. We will continue to have a banking crisis. So that is still something that we need to be concerned with, because that's not going to go away. At the same time, we are going to be dealing with cuts to oil production. This is actually coming from OPEC Plus. They're going to start this in May. I addressed this the other day. OPEC Plus announced this on Sunday. This production cut will be at the tune of 1.6 million barrels of oil per day. Now, this is only 2% of daily production, so it's not like it's 50%, but at the same time, this will make a difference here in the United States. We are dealing with shortages. We have an increase of demand coming very soon because of summer travel. So increasing demand but decreasing supply is only going to shoot prices up. And it's because of this announcement that the White House just this morning is doubling down on green energy. Now, why is this even important? Well, based on everything that we've experienced over the past 2 years, green energy, even though this is going to be good for our economy in the future, the problem is it's going to cause immediate additional inflation. That's the problem. Guess what? The American people cannot afford things now. So how are we going to afford things after another 6 months or a year of additionally high inflation? That's the question. But all this is why the Federal Reserve continues to keep their eyes open for additional upward pressure on inflation. And this is something that will create additional inflation. And because of everything that has gone on, we are likely to see additional rate hikes. That's not good for the American people, especially when we are spending more money putting additional purchases on credit. We cannot afford to pay higher interest rates on our credit cards. And this is why we should all be worried. Let me ask you this one question. Where do you keep your money? Do you keep it in your pocket? Do you keep it under a mattress? Maybe under a sofa cushion? Or, like most people, do you keep your money in the bank? I ask this question because where you keep your money is probably going to be impacted very soon. Here's why. I'm asking this because banking CEOs and financial experts believe that there is still more of a banking crisis to come. There's more to it. We don't know how far it's going to go, but there is more to it. Even JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, he had this to say, and I quote, "The current crisis is not yet over. And even when it is behind us, there will be repercussions from it for years to come." He did go on to say this, but importantly, recent events are nothing like what occurred during the 2008 global financial crisis. Now, is this true? Is this true? Is the crisis the exact same as 2008, or is it different? Well, here's what I can tell you, and this is your warning. This is different. Okay? But what makes this different? And does this, being it's different, is this a good thing? Well, here's the problem. This is not a good thing. According to multiple financial experts, this is not a good sign because, this is the bad part, if this crisis was the same, we would have an idea of how we can fix it. Being this crisis is different, being that we have tensions with other countries, being that we have shortages of food, labor, and fuel, being that we have rather high inflation, we have the Federal Reserve continuing to raise rates, we're on the verge of a recession, right? People are running out of money. The U.S. doesn't have the ability to continue to offer stimulus, another problem, which wasn't the same thing in 2008 because that is what the United States did under former President Barack Obama, is they did pass somewhat of a stimulus package. I believe it was under I think it was like in $700 billion or something like that. But again, they offered something. And so here's the problem. The U.S. doesn't have the ability to do that. We also have a debt limit that we have to negotiate and get past. We're just months away from that. So this is what experts are saying. The bad part is we don't know how to fix the current situation that we're in. We just don't know. Nobody has an idea because we've never been here before. Now, they also go on to say that the Silicon Valley Bank, over a month ago, when the whole issue started, it was because depositors kept pulling money from the bank, right? And regulators are now talking about putting restrictions on depositors like you and I. So the reason why I asked this, where is your money at? And this is your warning, is because what we are currently experiencing is something we have never seen before. We've dealt with a recession. We've dealt with inflation. We've talked about the debt ceiling, but I think we are going to come very close to defaulting. So we've talked about all these things in the past, but have we ever talked about them all together? The answer is no. But let me ask you this. If we are being told by banking regulators that we can't access our money in a moment's notice, right? We need a 24-hour notice, 48, 72-hour notice. What would you do? Would you keep your money in the bank? I know for me personally, I wouldn't keep much money in the bank. I'd keep just the money I need to pay my bills. That's it. Maybe a little bit extra, but that is it. Not much more. So, what would you have to then do? Well, the banking regulator said, hey, you have to tell us 24 hours in advance, get on your app and say, I need, $1,800 tomorrow. Okay, I will be down there to pick it up. You got to give them 24-hour notice. What would you do? Would you keep your money at the bank? Most people would say, no, I wouldn't. I'd only keep what I need to pay my bills. That's exactly what I would do as well. This is why this is potentially turning into an issue. Because one of the ways to fix a bank run is to limit the withdrawals from said bank. Well, if you go and limit those withdrawals and you tell the depositors that, no, sorry, you have to give us 24-hour notice. And again, I'm just throwing this out there because it has been discussed. What do you think is going to happen? People are going to start pulling their money. People would be rushing to the bank and pulling all their money because they don't want the banks telling them how to manage their money. Why would you want somebody that has no clue how to manage their own money to manage your money? It just doesn't make sense. Now, many people have said this, that let the bank runs just go on. Because what's going to happen is the smaller banks or the banks that are very risky, they're going to kind of collapse. They can't keep up. That's fine. Let them go. But according to the JP Morgan CEO, Jamie Dimon, he says this, and I quote, any crisis that damages Americans' trust in their banks damages all banks. a fact that was known even before this crisis. While it is true that this bank crisis benefited larger banks due to the inflow of deposits they received from smaller institutions, the notion that this meltdown was good for them in any way is absurd. And I just want to read that to you because the larger CEOs of JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, whoever, they don't want to see the smaller banks fail and collapse. They just don't. So this is a very delicate situation because in most cases, and this was back in 2008, is if a certain financial institution was too risky, just couldn't make it, well, they would collapse. Then there was that too big to fail. But again, in this day and age, according to some, they're saying every bank is too big to fail. So, what's going to happen? Will the U.S. bail out all these banks? Will we see the American people get hit with additional taxes in order to pay for this? What's going to happen? Well, here's what I can tell you. What we know is that the financial crisis of 2008 is different. This is not the exact same thing that we are experiencing today, but there are many similarities, and this is the problem because just because there's similarities does not mean we can attack them the same way. So, this is your warning. As of right now, we have no clue how to get through this, and that is a problem.